Best of r/ Tales from Retail episode 68. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. You may or may not know, but it is illegal for non-doctor to give dietary orders. You can suggest things, but you can't not tell someone to eat it unless you are their parents. Sorry kids, mom says eat your vegetables, you have to do it. I was giving samples out at the store and a lady refuses because of salt, not wanting to lose a sale. I tell her, well, in that case our Swiss cheese has only 36 milligrams of salt per ounce. Our no salt added turkey only had 55 milligrams per 2 ounces, and our lower sodium turkey and our award-winning oven gold turkey are only 135 milligrams of sodium per 2 ounces. Yes, I had all of our deli products sodium amounts memorized. I also knew the ones with nitrites. She buys some of the Swiss and oven gold, then ask, so which bread should I get? I am not sure of the contents of breads, but this brand of bread has only 60 calories per slice and no added sugars. I buy it for my diabetic parents, so I should buy it. I can only suggest. She keeps trying to get me to tell her to buy the bread for the next 2 minutes, and I am trying to keep my salesman self going, not denying her to buy something before finally saying, Mom, I am not a healthcare professional. It is against the law for me to tell you what you can or cannot eat. What I can do is give you information so that you can make that decision yourself. It is slow today. If you want to bring me different products, I can read the labels for you and tell you what is just marking tricks that we have been learning in my food and nutrition class. But the choice is yours. Thank you. Next. Background. I work at a warehouse chain that requires a membership to shop, and I'm trained in a variety of departments. One of them is front door asset protection. We check receipts at the door of the store. This is not so much to prevent theft as it is to prevent shrink from cashier error. 99% of people are cooperative, even when there is a mistake on their receipt. Cast. Me. CS1. Customer Service Desk Employee Number 1, a close friend of mine. CS2, Customer Service Desk Employee Number 2, RL, Rude Lady, a customer. RLF, Rude Lady's friend. The story. Today I was scheduled the closing shift checking receipts at the front door. I should mention that the industrial heater we have near the front door of the store is broken at the moment, so it was around 45 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 degrees Celsius. At the door all day, barely warmer than the current temperature outside. I was bundled in 3 layers, a hat, and gloves to barely stay warm for 5 hours, so I wasn't in the best mood. RL and RLF come up to me from the customer service desk with a receipt and a carriage with 3 items in it, a case of water and 2 bunches of bananas. They hand me a receipt, which clearly says non-member, where the membership number and info would usually be. This means they don't have a membership with the chain and aren't supposed to be shopping at all, but someone made an exception and let them purchase a few items. They hand me the receipt and I start to look it over. There's only 1 item on it, the water. So I ask, very nicely, me, do you have another receipt? This actually happens quite a bit. People forget they did 2 separate transactions and only hand me 1 receipt. Also, even if we suspect theft, which I never did throughout this entire exchange, we are required to ask if they have another receipt as a neutral way to start a conversation about a missed item. RL, nope. Why? Me, it looks like only your water was charged on this transaction, but not the bananas. RL, yelling out of nowhere, well, I paid for them. Do you check everyone's receipts like this? Me, yes, I do. I show her the receipt, trying to indicate that only the water is on there. RL, oh, so you count all the items in all the carts? Go ahead, ask the lady at customer service. She knows I paid. I page customer service to the front door. They're only about 20 feet away, so it doesn't take long. CS1 comes over. CS1, hi, can I help you? RLF, she didn't help us. That other girl did. CS2 was with another customer at the moment, so she couldn't come over. I quickly explain the situation to CS1, who relays the information to her colleague at the desk and awaits an answer. CS2/U/ComputerGeek1100, she paid for those. She must have lost a receipt, but I did ring her out for them. RLF, see? RL, this is ridiculous. Do you really count everyone's cart like this? Me, yes. RL, no you don't. You know how I know? The guy in front of me had a full carriage of items and you definitely didn't count all of them. At this point, I don't even know how to respond. Obviously, 3 items is a different situation than 50. When she had cut me off, I was actually about to explain how we are trained. If it's a small order, try to count everything. For larger orders, it's more common sense. Look for big items or items hidden underneath the carriage, and verify a few smaller items in the carriage. The exception is large business orders, where we do have to check pretty much everything no matter how long it takes, especially if tobacco is involved. RL, glaring at me, you can give my receipt back now and help the next person. Me, starting to lose my patience. Mom, I'm just doing my job. RL and her friend glare at me one last time and leave the store. Later, I found out from CS2 that RL had the receipt for the bananas on her, as in, it wasn't left at customer service when she checked out, but for some reason lied to me and said she didn't. She made a giant scene at the front of the store and backed up the line to get out for quite a while. Above all else, it's pretty simple. If I can clearly see that there are 3 items in front of me and the receipt only shows 1, of course I'll ask if I'll let her go without verifying. I could have been in huge trouble with the asset protection manager. I wasn't trying to accuse anyone of theft. Like I said, most of the time mistakes like this are cashier error. Thank you. Next. I used to work a fine jewelry counter in a large department store. I ran the counter and was the only person who ever worked it, so I was usually alone there. One day I was helping a lady pick out a nice watch. We kept the more expensive watches in a locked case, so I had to take out and put back every watch she wanted to try. It wasn't terribly busy that day and this kept me busy so I didn't mind. Then I hear a lady, who I will call entitled customer, clear her throat from behind me. Context: the counter was a long U shape so my back was always turned from one side or the other. I turn to EC. I'll be with you in just a few moments. EC rolls her eyes and sighs dramatically. I go back to helping the lady with the watches. A few seconds later I hear EC clear her throat again, so I ask the lady with the watches to excuse me a moment. I turn to EC and before I can speak, she says I need to pay on my store credit card bill. Me, no problem. Do you have your card with you? EC, no, I'm not buying anything, I'm paying my bill. Me, okay, well I still need to pull up your account somehow. Do you have the paper statement with your card number? EC, it's way down in my purse, can't you just look it up yourself? More context. EC shops in the store and pays her bill regularly, so she knows how this works. Me, no, I have to have your credit card or your paper statement. EC huffs and puffs as she digs through her purse. It's taking her a few moments so I turn back to help the lady at the watch case while she looks. EC then loudly clears her throat for a 3rd time. When I turn back to her she throws her statement on my counter. At the same time the lady at the watch case says she would like me to swap a few out. Me to EC, okay, if you could just type your account number into the pin pad there. I need to help this lady for a moment. EC, I don't have my glasses, you do it. Me, Mom, I'm sorry but my pin pad doesn't turn around all the way for me to reach and I need to help this lady as well. EC then dramatically whines and sighs as she slowly types it in while making sure to seem like she can't see anything. I get her payment made and as I hand her the payment receipt she lets loose. EC, just so you know you're lucky I don't call your manager up. This is not how you treat a customer. You should have left your counter and come to type that in for me. Me, I sorry Mom, but I was helping a customer before you got here and I was trying to help you both in a timely manner. EC, well my payment was the faster job, so I should have been more important. Me, you saw me helping another customer first and you can take your payment to any register. There were several other ladies I could have sent you to who weren't busy and could have helped you faster. EC, well your register is the closest to the front door. Not true by the way, so you should have gotten me out the fastest. You're lucky I don't call your manager up here. This is terrible customer service. Me, well I'm sorry I was so terrible. Maybe next time you could go to a different department and they'll be able to help you better than I did. If you'll excuse me, I have a lady I was helping, who waited very patiently. EC never came up to my counter again after that. Thank you. Next. Some background info. Our store was having a 50% off clearance sale. Due to a current Rouge employee, we have to ask a couple employees who normally only do our truck to cover a couple register shifts here and there. Said co-worker today is one of those employees. She can run register completely fine, but there's some details here and there that she usually needs assistance with or wants to double check with me. Co-worker ends up getting a couponer who has a cart full of items, and I hop on the other register to help ring out other customers. Note that each of our registers are roughly 5 feet apart from each other, so I can mostly hear any conversation that would take place. After one transaction had been rung up, the couponer hands her a stack of coupons and she proceeds to ring them through. Now, due to this being a 50% off clearance sale, a couple items had coupons that would be worth at least twice as much as the customer would be buying them for. Co-worker rushes over to me for a moment and simply asks, "Hey, do we accept coupons for items that go beyond what they're priced for?" I just respond, "Yes, as long as they go through there shouldn't be an issue. But if there is, I'll come down and help. Mostly because our system won't let us manually input a coupon for over the price of an item you're buying. Example, buy a $2 candy bar and have a $3 coupon that won't scan. We can only input it for $2 and that's it. I've been told that manually inputting a lower price could be considered coupon fraud, but it's so rare that this happens that it's usually not an issue. Or they're fine because they're getting said item for free, and if they plan to get something else to use up any overage, we're fine with taking it off. Win-win essentially. Though given that we're being slammed at the moment, I really didn't have the time to thoroughly explain this. That transaction goes through fine and another starts up. Couponer only puts up 2 bottles of shampoo/conditioner that happen to be a part of the clearance and presents a coupon, which would result in overage if it goes through. Co-worker calls me over, and this time I happen to just rush over thinking that this time the coupon didn't go through. Co-worker, are we allowed to take coupons that will go over the total? I don't even get a moment to respond before the couponer pips up in a nasty tone, "You know, I really don't appreciate being berated by your co-worker like this." I just blink at her for a moment because not once did I hear any nasty words from my co-worker. Just once when she came over to double check if a certain way to use a coupon was allowed. Co-worker, I wasn't trying to be rude. I just needed to ask her a question. Couponer, well then you can lose the attitude then. Which my co-worker didn't. At all. Co-worker, I didn't mean to. I immediately cut her off and tell her, "No, you're perfectly fine. As long as the coupon requirements are met and it goes through, then it's all good. We're just not allowed to pay overages." I glance at the couponer who's just glaring at me and walk away to go continue checking out on my register. Turns out the couponer just wasn't willing to put up an item she was going to use to cover overages until after the coupon scanned. And the reason my co-worker was wanting to make sure and double check was because she wasn't sure if she might get a mark against her for it showing up on her till. Like if the overage would mess up her end of draw count and anything above or under $1 is a write-up. Had she been presented with the other item and scanned it, then she wouldn't have needed to ask an additional question, which I guess is attitude to some people. Thank you. Next. I work in a shoe store in a dead mall. Low income area. Bit of a reputation, but I love it there. We get a lot of little old ladies just killing time and coming in to chat. One day an elderly woman with a walker shuffles in. I greet her and she takes her time walking through the store, picking up the display shoes and looking at them. She gets to the back of the store by the cash register and I see her looking at the fan I had turned on a higher shelf. She turns to me and says, "How much is this?" I assumed she was talking about the boot next to it because the fan is in our clearance section. I grab the boot to check the price and she says, No, how much is this?" and taps the fan. I was a little bit taken aback and paused for a moment before I said, "That's not for sale." She asks why not, and I said, "Well, it's our fan for the store. It gets pretty warm in here. Keep in mind this fan is old and dusty, like, clearly not for sale." There's another customer in the store trying not to laugh. The old lady says and goes on poking at the shoes. Another couple moments later and she turns to me and asks, "Is this a shoe store?" I hear the other customer in the store snort a laugh she couldn't hold in anymore. I told her yes, this is a shoe store, and she said "Huh," again and shuffled on out of the store. I couldn't hold in my laughter then, and me and the other customer had a grand old laugh about how she spent a good 5 minutes in the store before realizing it was a shoe store. Not a hell retail story, just a funny old lady who totally made my day. Thank you. Next. I work at a home decor store and today this sort of older guy came in looking for something to put in front of a window that had a beachy feel. I helped him pick out this cool ship that had sails made out of mosaic glass. While I was wrapping it up for him I asked how his day was and he said, "Oh, it's alright, I'm just in town visiting a friend." Then choked. He doesn't have a lot of time left. He got all red, tearing up and apologized as he took a minute to walk around the store and regain composure. I realized that he was buying his friend something beautiful to look at in his final days, and I could really see how much he loved him. This little interaction caught me off guard, but it was a nice reminder that we're all human and you never know what people are going through. Thank you. Next. Happened years ago. I was working the afternoon shift on Sunday at local gas station. It was a fairly regular slow Sunday. Woman walks in and asks to buy a phone card to call to Mexico. I point out the cards we have, she picks one, pays and leaves. Important to add, we have been told explicitly by the owner, and have a sign posted right above the card display that all phone card sales are final, no exception because of fraud. A few minutes later she comes back in and says the card doesn't work and she wants another one. I kindly told her that all phone card sales are final. Sorry and I can't do anything. She left and I didn't think twice. About 5 minutes later a man walks in mad, starts yelling at me saying his wife bought a phone card and that it didn't work and he wants a refund and another card. I tell him the same thing I told his wife about all sales being final and there was nothing I can do. He is not hearing any of this and say to bad because I'm gonna give him his money back and a new card. I repeated again what I just said and as soon as I was done he said he didn't care what I said, and that he wanted to speak to my boss. I told him that if he wanted to speak to my boss that was fine and he would just have to come tomorrow after 9 AM. He said no. Get him on the phone now. I told him no and to come back tomorrow after 9 AM. He started saying that if a customer asked to speak to the boss then I had to contact them. I said no and that it was Sunday and I'm not calling him unless it was important. He started shouting that a customer complaint is important and to get him on the phone now. This guy was on my second to last nerve and I took a deep breath and told him, "Look man, it's Sunday, I'm not bugging my boss unless this beer is on fire. Come tomorrow and complain to him." He just looked at me and said tomorrow he'll be back for his refund and to get me fired. Next day I gave my boss a heads up. Nothing ever came of it. Guy was full of hot air.